If you're expecting a bunch of guru fluff and get-rich-quick garbage, you've come to the wrong place. This show is the no bullshit real deal.
No bullshit real deal.
I'm Larry Harbolt, and they call me the real deal. Welcome to my show. This show is aimed at providing you with quality information so you can make more profit in the fastest way possible without making costly mistakes from the deals you do.
Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about something that I think is important that most people that are inexperienced just don't realize, and that is when you put a deal together, before you sign on the dotted line, think about the deal you just structured before you sign that dotted line. That's a critical piece of this puzzle. Too many people just don't take the time. They put together a deal. They never sit back and say, how can I make this deal better, before they make the final offer to the seller. You know, I often hear investors, they're offering to buy houses that they have under contract that they're not what most buyers or renters want. See, I live in an area where there are many 800 to 1,000 square feet houses that were built in 1946 with a one-car garage on the left or a one-car garage on the right. These are two-bedroom, one-bath houses. They're everywhere in my area. These houses, I'm finding, are going to be harder to rent and sell. See, over the years, I've learned that those small houses, they always take longer to rent or sell than larger houses do today. And there's reasons for that. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Why I don't think these little houses have the same marketability as the big houses, it's a common thought, but too many people that are just inexperienced and don't have their business built, they grasp at any straw they can find. And I just want to make it clear, when you look at that type house, can you make a profit from it? Possibly, but you have to understand what you're dealing with. So I know that I've mentioned this many times before, but there are some of my students and other people listening to this, they've never heard me talk about it because they weren't listening, or they've just never heard it. Or you didn't listen to what I said if you have heard this before, because I keep having people talk to me about doing a deal on one of these smaller houses that I just don't think they're a good deal when you can do a lot better if you'd get away from them. Now, I know some places of the country, that's all there is. That's okay. But there, people are used to living in those houses. They have fewer options in their price range. Now, if you live in an area where there are many of these smaller houses, usually these houses were built in the 1940s and the 1950s. These houses may seem to be easier to buy. Well, I would imagine so, because they don't have the same utility as a larger house. Now, in my area, there's thousands of these two-bedroom, one-bath houses, like I said. Today, renters and buyers have other larger houses to rent or to buy in most areas, and so they're more fussy. But in some areas, smaller houses still make up a majority portion of the houses for people to live in. Now, I want to explain why these smaller houses are harder to rent or sell. And I know you're going to think of this as not really valuable information, but let me tell you from experience, this is critical to your future. Number one, why are these houses harder to rent and sell? Because they have small square footage of space, living space to live in. They have smaller rooms. I don't think the tenants of today want 8-foot by 10-foot bedrooms with small closets to hang up their clothes in. That just doesn't work in today's market. Now, only a few people can buy these houses. That's why I say 75% of the marketplace you've eliminated. They won't buy your houses. Now, who are the people that can live here? Like I say, a single person, a couple, maybe a couple that has one or two children of the same sex. But if you have a parent and two children of different sex, they've got to have a 3-bedroom house. See, buyers and renters of today want more space. They want a bigger house. And the structures that I'm talking about, these little 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses, most of them are old. That is not a big selling point. They're just not like the houses of today. See, those houses built in the 40s or earlier, they're already 80 years old, or they could be older than that. Many of these houses have termites. Many have inadequate insulation in the walls. If you live in a cold climate, it may be a huge fuel bill in the wintertime to pay to keep you warm. That's not a good thing. Most have older furnaces or AC units. Most people today, they have larger furniture. Everybody I talk to has either a queen or a king-size bed. That doesn't work in a 8x10 bedroom. It just doesn't work. They have no room for a dresser or anything else. Many have not had, these houses have had proper maintenance over the years, and they need extensive work done to them. That is going to be costly for you to be able to put a tenant in there. That's going to be harder to find that tenant. You can spend a lot of money to fix those houses, and they still have small bedrooms, small living space, and they're going to be harder to sell or to rent. You see, buyers and even renters today want and believe they deserve a larger house to live in. It's just the way it is. Why? Because there are so many other houses they can buy or rent that have bigger space. But those older houses built in the 40s and 50s or before, they just don't have the space today's tenant or today's buyer are looking for. So unless these houses are in a low-income area, the people who live there, they may be somewhat forced to live in those houses. I choose not to buy those houses. I've had them. I've had a lot of them. But I no longer will because they're just too hard to deal with. Keep a tenant in them, and they're just hard to sell, period. Now, every lady that I've ever asked if they would like to live in one of these older and smaller houses, they've told me no. Some people don't mind living in a smaller space in apartments or in a condo, but most of these people do not have large families that live in the smaller units. So since the 1950s, most of the houses that have been built, they have been larger in square footage, larger rooms, larger kitchens for the lady. They have bigger rooms, more space. Many have 2 bathrooms. Those little houses had 1 bathroom. The families of today want 2 bathrooms. And they have larger closets as well as laundry facilities inside the house. You do realize that the ladies make the decision to buy these houses. I can't overemphasize that. So you want to put your money in the areas that the lady is going to want. The kitchen, the family room, the laundry area, the bathrooms. Those are critical things for her. For her family, you want to make sure you focus on that. Because a more spacious kitchen and family area, the buyers and renters of today, this is what they're looking for. This is what they want. So you got to ask yourself, when you look at an older house, is this a property my family would be happy to live in? Because if your family wouldn't be happy to live in that house, you've got to really choke it down and try and get somebody that is willing to live in it. And there's not an abundance of people that want to live in these smaller houses today. They may have to live there because of the price or the rental amount, but they don't really want to live there. They all want bigger. You got to be realistic when you make this decision. Would my family want to live there? There's no room for egos here. I believe you're going to find that using a little common sense when you're looking at properties to buy, that's going to be essential to your financial future. You've got to understand the market. You've got to understand the people, understand the psychology of the people, what they're looking for, why they're looking for it. And then you've got to give them that, or you're going to stifle your business. This is why I'm not really interested in these small houses built years ago. If I come across one, I may get it under contract. Then I'll flip the contract to another investor who hasn't gone through the thought process that you and I just went through. I tell you this again and again, because no matter what properties you're looking at, I want you to really think about what people want and need today and see if the properties that you're looking at have what renters and buyers are looking for. That's a critical and very important thing to have. I recommend going to open houses. You know what? If you find a neighborhood that has houses where there's quite a few being sold and they're being sold quickly, go and visit some of those open houses. See what's in those houses. See why people want them. You'll see that the ones that sell or rent quickly, they have what it is families today want. See, I see many more inexperienced investors today who don't think about these things. They're just trying to buy houses, any house they can find. That's not a good plan. See, it's time to start thinking like a seasoned investor and more experienced investor who knows what they're buying, of what the public wants today, and anything other than that they find make perfect candidates to flip the contracts to those who don't have the knowledge that you now have. If you find one that doesn't fit your criteria, flip that contract. Just make sure your purchase agreement is assignable. And like I said, it's time everyone started thinking like those of us with 30, 40 years of experience who do things on purpose, not like those who are trying to buy any house they can find, who somehow believe that they can make any deal work, knowing your areas, your values, who your buyers or renters are, and how quickly the houses you buy will sell or rent. This is very important to your financial future. You have to understand this. I wanted to talk about this for the simple reason my students, many of them still call me when they find one of these properties and they want to buy it. They think they're going to fix it up, gold plate it, and they're going to get top dollar for it. Well, ask yourself, would you want to live in a small house with small rooms? Would your partner want to live in that? Would your children really enjoy living in an 8 by 10 bedroom with all their toys? Where do you put the big screen TVs? That's my number one concern. And my wife, she doesn't like those little bitty galley kitchens where, she can just barely move around. They like more space. Give them more space. Look more for houses where more people want to live and less houses where people have to live. I think you'll find they may cost a little bit more, but you'll find they will rent quicker, they will sell quicker, as long as they're not in areas where people don't want to live. They're not on busy streets. They're not in an industrial area, not near an airport or a busy highway. Got to give the people what it is they want. Just think about that every house you look at. Think about the people you're going to put in that house, whether you're going to sell it or rent it. Think of yourself. Would you want to live in that house as a tenant or as a homeowner? Think of these things because this is going to be very, very important to the profit you make on all of your houses that you buy or rent. This is going to be one of the keys to your success. Think about it. Always, when you get ready to make an offer to a seller, sit back and say, how can I make this deal better? Never just take your first impulse and go with it. Always try to make the deal better for both you and the seller. There are a million ways to do it. One of the things I teach is multiple ways to make offers. If you understand there are dozens of ways to make an offer on a property, cash is only one. There are multiple ways. They're all different to give the seller what it is they want. This is important information. Please listen to this over and over again until you memorize why these little houses may not be in your best interest as an estate builder or as a landlord. So that's going to about wrap up this episode of my podcast for this week. Hope you found some value from today's topic, and I invite you to head over to LarryHarbolt.com and register to keep up to date with my tips and ideas to help you become a better real estate investor. If you've not already registered, head over to LarryHarbolt.com/register to get access to my free phone script on how to negotiate with sellers over the phone. Be sure to tell a friend and leave me a review on your podcast player. You see, your reviews help me know that the information I'm providing to you is valuable. That is very important to me. So I wish you to have a great week. I'll see you next time on the Real Deal Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Real Deal Podcast with Larry Harbold. To learn more about investing in real estate, head on over to LarryHarbold.com and register for his educational tips and articles delivered by email.